Okay, so I've decided to do a quick tour of my campervan conversion, which is getting close to completion, but I still have quite a bit of tidying up to do. So the outside of the van still needs a little bit of attention. I will probably ultimately end up repainting it, but I'm not concerned with that right now. That will be the final stage. So as you can see, I've got one window in the driver's side at this stage, and I am still debating. I have purchased two windows for the back, one for each side, but I am still undecided as to whether or not to put these in, and maybe you can help me with your suggestions or with what you have experienced. On this side of the van I also have my mains hookup, which connects straight into the electrics in the van. This is the vent for the Malaga water heater, which again I can show you in another video, the process of actually installing it. And this is my toilet. Okay, so moving on around the back, as you can see it's a Movano 2.5. It's an 08 Movano, and what I like about this van is the size. It's got full headroom for now standing up, and I can show you. So there's a 6 foot mark, and we're getting 1 inch more, so 1.85 meters in head clearance, which is good. Personally, I don't think I could survive in a van where I had to bend all the time. Okay, so that's a brief tour of the inside. As you see, that's the window I installed on the inside. Sliding window and the integrated blind and fly screen. So these are really nice windows. Pretty easy to fit. I've just used 2 layers of ply to build it out. 25mm, let's say. So that's the window. So next I guess we should look at the electrics, and to do that I will start in the front and show you how I've connected to the van battery and then connected back to the leisure batteries. Okay, so here we are looking at the vehicle battery from above. But you can see this cable coming from the positive terminal. This is a fuse holder and a fuse. I'm not entirely sure what that rating of that fuse is offhand, but I can check it if you're interested. And it's important to note that this fuse actually protects the cable from here onwards. So if there happens to be a short or anything in this battery, that cable is protected. And it's important therefore to have the fuse as close or fairly close to this terminal to minimize any damage. So that cable, if you can see, actually disappears into a little bit of trunking, goes underneath this section of the van and reappears in the back, which I will show you. Okay, so back in the battery compartment, we are here. You can see the cable entering from underneath the van. I've literally drilled a hole in this bulkhead to allow it to come through, protected it with plastic conduit the whole way, and this is just a little gland that I found that helps to protect it through the actual entrance hole. From here I've taken it underneath this ply. Hopefully you can see this. And here, it's a little bit dark perhaps. Okay, so continuing on, if you see the cable where it enters, it then goes underneath and straight through in this compartment into the battery compartment. You can also see in here I've got my battery neutral, which is connected to the van's earth, and also I've earthed the other components on that same earthing screw. Okay, and again you can see the isolator with the broken key, which isolates the van battery from the leisure batteries. Okay, so I've shown you the split relay charger briefly. The battery's connected up as standard in parallel, so I still have my 12 volt output, but I have doubled my ampere capacity. Now as you can see, these are 115 ampere batteries, which I picked up from Halford's at a good price. I can't remember exactly, but I think they were approximately 200 quid for the pair on some sort of a summer special, so if you look out for that. You also notice the little vent tubes I've added, and this was literally a piece of very small compressor hose that I've just cut to suit, because it was the only thing I could get to fit perfectly over the holes, and I've just secured them with a little cable tie, and those actually go right down through the whole bottom of the van. So if there is any leakage when the batteries are charging, which can occur, or build-up of gas, then it is actually released through those tubes and out through the base of the van, and does not allow it to build up in the van. I'll do a separate video on the electrics and how I've connected everything up, but for now I'm just doing a brief overview. So what have we got? So leaving the battery, we're going here again, protected with a fuse, and I will give you details on all these. The main positive supply goes right around the back, and as does the negative, obviously, both coming together. They go through this hole, around the back, and they come out to feed this little 12 volt distribution box. You can see the negative coming in here, and the positive will come in here. Now this is where I've added my second isolator to isolate the 12 volt electrics in the van, and so that's simply a switch on off. The positive then feeds on to the positive terminal of this little box. Such. Now there's two sides on the box, so basically they're both paired separately, so I've just looped them through, so both sides now have power, and the negative obviously comes in the top. All your negative connections will connect on these terminals on the top, and then your positives down here, and you can obviously add a fuse for each application. At the minute I have simply got USB, my ceiling fan, lights, which I've split up, lights front and back, which is not necessary, and my pump, my water pump, and there will be a few other bits and pieces going on there. So the thing I like is there's lots of space for adding future capacity. Okay, now beside that is my mains setup. This is just a little earth charger, so necessary. 240 volt. Comes in the back, which again you can see in my other video how I actually hooked this up, but this is a standard little garage consumer unit. Okay, so I've added two breakers in there, and there's a standard trip switch. More than enough for the sort of 240 volt requirements of this van. I've also got this little inverter connected back to the battery. So what this does is, if I need for some reason 240 volt power and I don't have access to mains, then I can use this to convert from my DC from my batteries to AC. And this plug is actually going to the far side of the van, so it may be useful if I needed to plug in a 240 volt fridge, for example, which I'm not sure whether I will or not. But I can also take this plug out and connect it directly into the mains coming in. So it means if I have mains connection, I can use this plug on the far side of the van for whatever application, should it be microwave, kettle, whatever. Now I've also taken a permanent 240 volt supply to the far side, which I will show you in a minute. Above the inverter is my little CTEC battery charger. So this just connects directly to the mains. So when I have got a mains connection, I can charge my batteries directly. I currently have this actually connected to my van battery. I say I do, but I don't. But I've got these little crocodile clips which I can connect to my van vehicle battery if I ever need to charge it up, which is handy. And normally I will leave it connected to this little adapter which connects directly to the battery, which is permanently connected. So this guy, so this little guy just plugs out and plugs directly in here. So normally I thread that through and leave it in there permanently, but as I say, if I ever need to charge my vehicle battery, I can do that. The charger itself seems very good quality and works quite well. The one thing I will say, it's possibly a little bit light for my batteries. I've noticed it takes quite a long time to charge them if they are low. This is the box. See that? Again, purchased off Amazon, I believe, and it has very good reviews and seems to work very well. But as I said, the only possible issue is this size. And above the inverter is my little C-Tech battery charger. This normally is connected permanently via this little adapter to my batteries. See, it just plugs in here, and one side of this is connected to positive and the other to negative. I say normally that is connected permanently, but I have the option of connecting these little crocodile clips if I decide to charge, or if I need to use the charger to charge my van battery. The charger itself is a little C-Tech, which works very well. The one thing I would say is it's probably a little bit light for my two batteries, but it does charge, it just takes a little bit longer. But yeah, good little product and happy with it so far. And as you can see, it is plugged into the main supply permanently. So if I have a mains connection, my battery is always trickle charging. Is this little spur, which is for my water heater. And again, if I'm connected to mains, it means I can flick this on and it will heat my water from the 240 volts, which is pretty efficient obviously if you're connected to a mains supply somewhere. Otherwise it will run on gas, which again I've shown you in my other video, and you can see the gas coming in here. In terms of how this works, it's simply a water heater. So you've got cold water coming in, which comes from the tank underneath, well actually from the pump on the far side of the van, which I will show you, and heats the water, and then the hot water comes out. Now conveniently my shower and bathroom is next door, so the hot water is should be pretty much instant in there once it's available. But moving up, this is my little panel which I showed you briefly. Not much on it at the minute, just my voltage meter, USB charger and cigarette lighter type charger. This is my water tank meter, which actually works. Yeah, I've got it connected up, and you can see it's pretty useful because it shows you if your water tank is running low, and this side is the actual fresh water, and this one I'm pretty sure is the waste. When it fills up, it should light up red, so you know the waste tank is actually full. Also you can see the controls for the Malaga water heater. So you've got the option to switch it on to gas, or 230 volts. So basically if we're plugged in on the site, we switch it to 230 and switch the gas side off, and vice versa. So it's nice and flexible. And that switch is for my pump, which I just realised. So I need to label that. I think you might have heard that coming on. In terms of the 12 volt wiring, it's probably worth noting that I've taken everything out the back and up along. This is basically plastic conduit that I've stuck in, and everything is in that main conduit trunk coming up. I've also tried to use this hose pipe for anything more critical or any heavier cables. So I think that's actually a mains cable going to the far side. One little trick I think is worth noting is when you're actually adding your wires one by one, it's worth just cutting these little pieces of the cover, clipping them on, actually clip them in place, like so, and you can then use them to thread your wires in behind, and then you've got a permanent holding until you're ready to close it all up completely, which I am almost there. For example, take my water pump. So my pump, the power is coming from here, it's coming up along, following this, and then I am actually splitting the cable here, so it's going in the back to this little switch and then back out to the pump. So I've split quite a few cables here. Anything I need to switch on this panel, I have to split the cables here. That's quite convenient because it lets the space in there behind to drop the cables in. And Means that everything can be switched from this location if necessary.